Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
It's showtime. Say his name, and he appears. The man is here live on YouTube. Are you ready? What is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And I am the man himself, live here again on YouTube for another live stream. We are live talking about two topics today. We're, of course, going to do the review from Friday Night SmackDown from the October 17th, 2025 edition that took place in San Jose, California. We're going to be looking back at everything that happened on SmackDown. Before we get to SmackDown, though, we are going to be talking about another topic from news that was floating around this week regarding Andrade. Whatever he is now, Andrade El Idolo, Andrade Cien Almas, whatever his name is right now. We had quite a week regarding Andrade and what the future could hold for him in wrestling if he gets to wrestle anytime soon. We're going to talk about all of that here with this kind of like a double stream. The Andrade stuff I wanted to do separate first, but again, most of the time, I find it easier just to do it all in one. If I want to talk about some news and and of course do a review. And if I really, really want to, I can always, upload like a separate clip of it, of that part later, which I might do for the Andrade part. I don't know yet. But either way, guys, we're here live. I'm doing a live stream for SmackDown, and also again to talk about Andrade, because I do want you to hear your guys' thoughts on the Andrade news as well. Because I didn't do Raw live this week. It was just a busy week. I had to get up super extra early on I think it was Thursday I had to. So that's why I just recorded that one, just a little bit of a breather, and just prepped SmackDown for SmackDown review. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I did, because SmackDown was a pretty good show this week. Again, like WWE is like putting stuff on TV right now where I see things and I'm like, this is different. This is pretty cool. But I'm also in that mood where I'm like, I don't want to really jump to like conclusions of where this could go to. So it's more so kind of like let's see where this goes. But I like this. And it could lead to either here or there, or anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. There will be more videos for that Let's Play coming soon, by the way. For those of you who were wondering. But yes, SmackDown. So, I had also read and heard a couple rumors also. That first off, apparently there was a shakeup in the creative teams. For SmackDown for sure. I think for Raw also, but I'm not sure. Which is why we're seeing some changes. Some old theme songs being brought back, some fresh storylines, a couple of looks of like pending character changes. We did have one made official for me that I will do a turn alert for as well today for this person, and they desperately needed this heel turn in my opinion. Yeah, some very interesting stuff going on. Also, I don't know if this is true or not. I heard somewhere that apparently WWE hired some AI person or someone who works with AI. And there's rumors going around that this episode of SmackDown was written by AI. Which is odd, of course, because you notice that. I watched a new episode of SVU this week that had to do with people using AI for not so good things. I don't know. Like, AI is really like, that's, I guess, the modern day thing in 2025. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this, but whatever WWE's doing right now, keep doing. Because, again, like, I definitely around SummerSlam, WrestlePalooza, things got a little dry. Not horrible, but a little dry, a little bland. But, again, we're seeing some shifts in characters. Some things going in different directions of, like, wait, I didn't even see this happening. I'm like, this isn't bad, but I gotta see more of where this goes. And, of course, for a while, too, especially since the beginning of the year, well, really for a while, again, SmackDown, I feel like, has been the weaker of the two shows. Because of the fact that I feel like that the roster, well, first off, they went 3 hours for the first 6 months of the year this year. And SmackDown just did not have the roster. And they still don't have the roster for a strong 3-hour show. Now they've gone back to 2 hours, making some changes. Things are feeling better. So, like I said, I'm interested to see where SmackDown goes with some of these changes. We had a big return, a couple title changes. We had Jacob Fatu get written off the show. We'll talk about him in a little bit. And I am going to try to get a poll out on Twitter and on Instagram. Because if you guys haven't noticed, even though it's not as much as I want to, I have been trying to throw out some random social media posts here and there. Like I said, I'm trying to get my social media going again. I don't use TikTok as often anymore. Again, because especially since TikTok has, I feel like, more sensitive guidelines. But, like, my last match card for Crown Jewel got 35,000 views on TikTok. And I have almost 500 followers now on TikTok. And that's the social media platform I have that I'm really not trying. Like, Twitter and Instagram are the ones, are my big key, are my bread and butters. But I only have 30 followers on both of those. So, again, trying to cook up some buzz and post more besides links to my videos. Like I said, too, also, the problem is I don't always get to watch shows live. Since I don't, I can't live tweet during them because either one, I'm working on something else while I'm watching them, or two, because if I'm behind, I don't want to look on Twitter and get spoiled. So that's kind of why, I try to post things like, that's why I tried with the Crown Jewel thing. I posted my thoughts on each match and whatnot. I don't know if I'll do that the same for every single pay-per-view because it kind of takes up a little bit of time, not going to lie. But again, just trying some new things, trying to get some buzz on social media. So definitely some more polls, some more news posts, some other things to, like, hype some things up could help. Or, like, again, like I posted about listening to Nick Nemeth's episode of Chris Van Vliet. CVV likes some of my posts here and there. Thank you, CVV. Again, like I watch other shows throughout the week. Maybe I'll start posting little blurbs about those on there just for heck of it. Because I'm sure it shows I eventually would want to do some reviews for on the channel. So, again, just trying some new things, just having fun. And as always, guys, I thank you for your support. But we are going to get rolling here. I've talked a lot. And like I said, we are going to definitely talk about Andrade first and then review SmackDown. But first, as always, let's check our live chat to see who we've got here. We've got our good friend Tyler in the live chat. Thank you, as always, Tyler, for joining these live streams. This is a great SmackDown. 3 fun matches outside the WWE Championship match, which has a very interesting ending. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Well, later on. AEW needs to stop making the pay-per-view 8,000 hours long. I did not watch Wrestle Dream last night. I do, though, and I'm not going to do live reactions. I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a long time for me until I do live reactions, because it's never really a good time for me to do live reactions too much anymore. But, so those are probably not going to be seen for a while, but at some point, oh, never mind. I heard a noise. I thought it was my garage, but I forgot my washer's on. It scared the crap out of me. Anyways, but I'm not going to do live reactions to them, but I do want to watch again, I'll probably have to go find it on like that bootleg site I use for pay-per-views I don't buy. I do want to watch Darby Allin and Jon Moxley's matches from All Out and from Wrestle Dream last night. I want to compare and contrast Coffin match, I Quit match, see how far they really took it and kind of compare. Because I did hear the finish for the I Quit match was weak. But yeah, I didn't watch Wrestle Dream. I had no interest. I really don't right now for AEW. But especially also if Tony Khan is apparently signing NDAs for people in Texas to not reveal the true attendance for All In. Again, that guy's just gone so crazy. I'm sorry. Tony Khan, I keep saying, literally after the dramatic events of Brawl Out in 2022, literally turned into Clark Griswold. When Clark Griswold still didn't get his Christmas bonus. That's why I compare Tony Khan to, because ever since then, he's gone like nuts and obsessed over people like Kyle Fletcher and a few others that he obviously is a huge fan. Tekla, Hologram, all these other people, Kevin Knight, all the people who are like, okay, they're talented, but they're not that great yet. Just saying. But we'll talk about AEW a little bit when we get to Andrade, though. Raw and SmackDown need to bring back the red and blue ropes. Yeah, sure, just to make them feel unique and different, not make the shows feel lazy, to be honest. I mean, I get it, budgets and whatnot, but if you have the money, especially, of course, if you're selling these tickets for crying out loud for how much money. I know TKO is in debt right now, of course, yes, but still, I feel like you could put a little more creative into it with how much money, you're making people spend to go to the shows. Heck, they just announced the holiday tour and they're coming here, which I doubt I'll go to. But for crying out loud, I wonder how much they're going to charge for a ticket to go to a freaking house show. I'm sorry, I really don't find house shows worth going to. But yeah, as always, thank you for supporting the channel as well, Tyler. Hopefully, you get a few more people in the live chat. But we're going to get rolling here. So, before we get into the SmackDown review again, I do want to talk about the former WWE superstar, Andrade, who recently returned to AEW as he is now the first wrestler to be in WWE and AEW twice. Leave and come back, like, whatever it is. So, Andrade, let's talk about him. So, for those of you who didn't really pay too much attention to the news this week in wrestling, Andrade was a huge topic of discussion. Recently, Andrade was released from WWE. He was fired. He wasn't just released due to a budget cut or lack of creative or whatever it is. No, he was fired. And there was a lot of different stories roaming around. He ghosted the company. This and that. But the final thing that I've heard is that he had multiple violations of the wellness policy. Now, I know there's the rule where I believe it's 3 strikes and you're out. I don't know when these other wellness policy violations were. Well, because here's my question I also wanted to ask. For those of you who are watching, do they, if he, since he left the company and then came back, do those violations still carry over? I'm assuming yes, but you never know. Because here's my thoughts on it. So Andrade, I know the first violation he had was back in 2020. I remember it was right before the world shut down, and he was United States champion, because that's when they brought up Angel Garza to have a reason to keep Zelina Vega on TV while Andrade was suspended. And then when he got brought back, him and Garza were made as a tag team. Until, the fall, when they just split them up and Zelina went on her own, and then Andrade didn't get drafted, and then he was not used, and then he got released in February or March of 2021. Which I'm starting to wonder, was that possibly when the second one came in, if that's the case? But to me, I'm thinking it couldn't have been, because if he already had 2 against him, why would they have brought him back right away whenever whenever he left AEW the first time. Which, honestly, he could have had 2 strikes against him, and Triple H, and that's when Triple H is in charge. He could have been like, well, you know what? Maybe he's a changed man. Let's give him a shot, but one more time and you're out. And maybe that's what was the story. I don't know. But I just still found it weird that he was not drafted in the draft that fall in 2020. And again, he just got pushed away, but like, no offense to him, Angel Garza, who, I do believe could have been a big star, but he's been reduced to a tag team specialist in a low card role right now. Instead, we had they went with him instead of Andrade, and I just found that weird. So that could be the case there. So I don't know when all they were again. I just know the first one he had was at the beginning of 2020 while he was United States champion, because that's when they brought up Angel Garza to kind of like fill his role until he got back. But that's the reason why he got fired, was because of him violating the wellness policy. Now, just a few weeks later, he appears on AEW television at the 6-year anniversary episode and joins the Don Callis family. Not a fan of that, of him joining. I mean, I'm okay with him going back to AEW. I'm a fan of them teasing a match with him and Kenny Omega. But of course, him being the Don Callis family, I don't like that. But that's whatever. But then, again, I haven't reviewed AEW since that show. Andrade has been on TV since. And I thought that was very weird. Especially also knowing that even his first time around, he did have that altercation with Sami Guevara. And he was suspended, and then he also got injured at the same time. So then you thought maybe something happened yet again. But then they came out this week that WWE had reached out to AEW. And I think the phrase is called cease and desist, saying that Andrade is currently under a non-compete clause and he cannot be on AEW television. And at first, when it came out, it came out like Andrade wasn't aware of this. But then again, also okay, so first off, let me state this before I go on further. I myself, the man himself, I'm going to be 100% honest. I am not a businessman. I do not understand, some things that why businesses do certain things. The non-compete clauses, I do not understand. Especially if they're ones that are involved with someone getting fired, not because of lack of work or whatnot, but they're fired because they were trouble. Like Andrade was apparently with his wellness policy violations. Why would you give them a non-compete clause to not pay them? Like, I looked it up as the reasons why, but I read it and I'm like, these are stupid. These are absolutely stupid. Like, even if you want to stop someone from going to a competitor, they're going to go there eventually anyway, But if you also want to look at it, okay, we released you because of lack of work, but, we'll give you have 90 days of a severance package. I mean, it's 90 days for the main roster, 30 days for developmental, unless you're Aleister Black, when they got released in 2021, they mistakenly forgot to change it on his contract when he got called up. So Aleister Black had a 30-day no-compete clause, which is why he appeared in AEW 1 month after he got released in 2021. But I never understood the no-compete clauses. But especially also if he was fired for the reasons he was fired for. Because my thoughts are, okay, his punishment is he loses his job. And yes, he no longer has a job, but he's not guaranteed another job. Like, Andrade left AEW on good terms. So he was welcome back. But then again, if you're Tony Khan, could you also be thinking, well, if he's, breaking their policies because of what he's doing, why should I bring him in right away and trust him? Like, that I understand. But to have somebody be put on a non-compete clause with no pay, like that makes absolutely no sense. But anyways, at first, they made it seem like that Andrade didn't know. And it's still swirling around that a bunch of wrestlers didn't know that this next part I'm about to talk about doesn't exist in their contracts. But apparently, the latest is that WWE and TKO is stating that in the new TKO contracts, apparently there's a clause stating that if you are fired due to like a breach of contract or like violating like the wellness policy, like something like that, like basically you're not being let go because of lack of work and no creative and whatnot. But if you're fired due to something like that, it's supposed to be not a 90-day non-compete clause, a 1-year non-compete clause with no pay. Isn't that a little... Like I said, Andrade losing his job, he brought that on himself. I'm sorry. He violated the policy 3 times. He lost his job. But to basically tell him, man, you can't work. Like, to me, like, if Andrade's not allowed to work because of, you know, what violating the wellness policy and whatnot, to me, it's like, I for someone not to go that long without work, like, it should be like a criminal. But Andrade's still a free man, last I knew. Like, why is it that the WWE, who's doesn't want to deal with someone who won't follow their policies, why are they holding him hostage basically for a whole year? Or anyone who does what Andrade did, which is rare, for a whole year though. And this guy can't work. Well, I'm hearing apparently it's in the United States. It's only for the United States. So if that's the case, then he should be able to go to like Mexico or Japan or somewhere else overseas to be able to work for the next year before he can, of course, return to AEW television, as it's obvious that's where his next destination is. But again, like I said, this whole situation is just a mess. Honestly, one report's saying that it wasn't made clear to Andrade. But remember, Andrade did ghost the company, from what I'm hearing also, when he was fired. So they may have told him then, but he ignored it. But it does raise concerns that I'm hearing rumors that there are other WWE superstars who aren't aware of this clause saying that if you get fired for a breach of contract or whatnot, then it's a 1-year non-compete clause. So like I said, that's concerning. If that was not made clear to the employees, Andrade, who apparently has a good lawyer, could take them to court. And if he wins the case, which, here's the thing also, if it was just a 90-day no-compete clause, I would say it wouldn't be worth going to court, because I'm pretty sure by the time they solve the case, the 90 days will be up anyways. The only thing that could change is maybe they'll be forced to pay him. But of course, if it's 1 year and you do have proof, because I don't know for sure, because some source makes him that WWE did have that in his contract, and again, that's on a TKO deal. The old WWE contracts, apparently it was 90 days. But on the new TKO ones, they're saying 1 year if you breach your contract, like Andrade did. So, like I said, I don't know what the full story behind this is. And I said, I am not a businessman. I still think the non-compete clauses are stupid. I don't understand why they're a thing. But again, especially if you're gonna basically fire somebody for not following your guidelines, basically saying we want nothing to do with you. Why are you still controlling this guy's destiny? That just makes absolutely no sense to me. Like I said, if someone else, it should be a thing where it's like, we don't want to deal with you anymore. But if someone else wants to deal with you, then fine. So, I don't know what's going to happen with Andrade. I don't know if we'll see him on TV again in like 70 days or whatever his 90-day no-compete clause is retroactive to or whatnot. Or for a full year. I don't know, but we'll see what happens down the line. Heck, if it's a whole year, this could turn him off entirely from wrestling. But like I said, him losing his job, to me, that's on him. But I don't know who's totally at fault here with the whole non-compete thing. Either, again, Andrade, it was in Andrade's contract, or they told him when they fired him and he ghosted them, or he was never told. So that if that's the case, then that's on WWE. AEW has no blame for this at all whatsoever. So, like I said, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But that's the latest on Andrade and his post WWE contract situation there. Again, I will probably maybe take that separate part and make it its own separate video maybe after I do the review, just so like people can watch that who wants to watch that instead of the whole stream. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts down below about Andrade. And again, too, if you by any chance know, if you were with the company, you left the company and came back, do your wellness policy violations still stand, or are you back to a clean slate? Let me guys know. I'm pretty sure they stand, but because like I said, if he already had multiple wellness policy violations, why would they bring him back as soon as they did when he left AEW at the end of 2023 and came back a month later at Rumble 2024? So we'll see. Anyhow, we're gonna get back now to the main course. The main reason why we're here is my review of Friday Night SmackDown. Again, this took place this past Friday, October 17th, 2025 in San Jose, California, the hometown of Bayley, and also Mr. No gas, no brakes, yeah I mean, Jacob Fatu, who was a big focal point on this episode of SmackDown. We're going to talk about that, though, right now. I do see in the live chat that Tyler made another comment or two, but I will get back to that at the end of the stream. So, Nick Aldis comes out. After we got a recap also what happened on Raw with Seth Rollins and The Vision on last Monday. We'll see what happens with that tomorrow. Nick Aldis comes out and announces that the main event will be a number one contenders match for for Cody Rhodes' world title, and it's going to be between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. Cody Rhodes came out wearing glasses, by the way. Weird. Well, I think Cody does for real wear glasses, but Cody comes out and says on Saturday Seth beat him for the Crown Jewel title and split him to the bone to do so. He doesn't think they need to face each other in the ring ever again, but that's not how things work around here. It doesn't take 20/20 vision to see he's got problems with his vision. So that's basically saying, yeah, he beat me, but Seth's going to handle his business, he'll handle his. So he says he's here tonight to see who's going to be his next challenger, Drew McIntyre or Jacob Fatu. That's basically all he said. And, we're going to see what happens later on with that. Then backstage, we have a segment with Rey Fenix doing a photo shoot. Solo Sikoa rolls up and basically tries to bully him around, and the MFTs attack him. I'm going to keep saying this throughout the stream because the MFTs appeared like 2 or 3 more times after this, or maybe one more time. I can't remember how many times it was. But again, although this feud with them and the Wyatt Six has me raising an eyebrow, I'm going to continue saying that I don't give a crap about Solo Sikoa or the MFTs until they actually do something different. I know they have like the face paint and whatnot. We got Tama Tonga back. I appreciate that they're giving them its own name and not just sticking to, the bloodline there, the MFTs. That's like Solo's own thing, yes. But again, we've gone in circles so many times with Solo since WrestleMania 40 that right now, you gotta do something for me to actually care. That's what I'm going to put there. You got to do something for me to care about Solo Sikoa. Him going out and trying to intimidate like Rey Fenix or the U.S. title picture, right now, to me, it's not going to do anything. You got to show me that Solo is, going to actually give me results and not just the same old crap. Just saying. So we have that there. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defended the women's tag titles against NXT's Zaruka, Sol Ruka, and Zarya. And we have Blake Monroe, formerly, of course, known as Mariah May in AEW, sitting front row. I guess there's something in NXT going on between Zaruka and Blake Monroe. Again, I don't watch NXT, so I'm not really 100% sure what is going on. But the match, though, in the ring with Alexa and Charlotte and Zaruka was pretty good. Again, I definitely do have interest in seeing what Sol Ruka does when she gets to the main roster. Again, I do think she's a very unique high flyer. And, of course, her Soul Snatcher is one of the best finishers for sure. Zarya seems like a dominating, powerhouse. I keep hearing rumors that they're teasing them splitting up, which honestly, might be fine if they both are much more meant to be singles competitors as well. But I thought they had a great match. It does feel like, though, that, again, Alexa and Charlotte are just, like, coasting right now, as I keep saying. Like, there really isn't much, like, story to them right now holding the tag titles, other than just a little, little jabs at each other just to establish, like, the bond, but, like, no other development. Like he's saying, the long-term plan, I think, will be for these two to eventually feud each other. But I think it'll be, again, I can still see it being Alexa being the one to go heel. Because she's going to get consumed by the Wyatt 6. And Charlotte's going to probably, like, who's, more meant to be a heel. But you could tell the story where, like, Charlotte, had like a heart for Alexa, and like losing that bond she had with her, like kind of like changed her, basically. I think that would be different to do if they would want to do Charlotte and Alexa down the line. But until those cracks start forming, we're going to be in basically coast mode with the two of them for now. So maybe not till around WrestleMania. I don't know how long that's going to be. But it was still a good match. And again, Blake Monroe kind of caused a distraction for Charlotte to take advantage with a chop block. Although Charlotte got a wee bit heelish with that chop block and the distraction on Zarya at the end. So, whatever. Backstage, we then see one of the people who were supposed to challenge Cody Rhodes for was supposed to be in the number contenders match, Jacob Fatu, ran to Cody backstage, and he says, yo, I'm going to win, and shows him the real meaning of Ghost Rod and Whip, and he's all gas, no brakes. Yeah, I mean! And Cody shakes his hand and says, I hope you're right. So that's all that was. But that wasn't the end for Jacob Fatu. Alright, let's then now talk about this. And we will also be talking about more of this when it comes to Turn Alert. Because last week on SmackDown, Damian Priest and Aleister Black had a last man standing match. And Aleister Black won after a slight distraction from Zelina Vega. But it wasn't like she healed up on Damian Priest. She's basically was like, don't hurt my husband. And then Aleister, when she got out of the way, Aleister hit him with a fireball, and then Black masked him off the top of the road cases and whatnot, excuse me. But, so that's why at first I'm like, let's wait until she cuts a promo to see if Zelina is a heel or not. And she is. So they have this backstage promo where they're hanging out with the Snake, and they basically he says that everything he's been doing is calculated. He's never felt more accomplished than reuniting with his wife. This is the inevitable truth, and there's none more methodical nor more violent than his wife. And they're not the infection, but the mirror that shows it. And you might call them a necessary evil. The venom isn't poison, it's salvation. So they're kind of setting the stage. They're now like a dark heel duo, which I think is great, especially for Zelina, because again, let's face it, Zelina is much more better as a heel. On the microphone, this valet role is more fitting for her. The only thing is, though, and I can understand why people are saying this, and again, we'll talk about this more whenever we get to the turn alert, but people are upset with this because this is basically them taking Karrion Kross and Scarlett's gimmick. I get it, yes, for sure. I know Aleister Black is much more interesting in the ring than Karrion Kross is, which still surprised me because I thought he was dominating in the ring in NXT, and it just feels like on the main roster, they took that away from him. Like, for crying out loud, he put a cross jacket on someone in NXT. That was it. Now it's like a cross jacket is like a weak move. But we'll see where this goes. Again, I'm interested in it, even if it's, like some form of like what we want to see from Karrion Kross and Scarlett. It's still gonna be great because it's Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. We'll talk about Zelina more again with the turn alert. So we got that. We got a recap also of what happened between Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura in the US Open Challenge last week on SmackDown when the MFTs attacked them and Tama Tonga made his return. So first we see Miz backstage saying he wants something to be big, and Nick Aldis says he'll do what he can. Whatever that is, I don't know. But then Sami rolls up and he's like, yo, why am I not on the show tonight? And then Nick Aldis tells him that I support the US Open Challenge, but Shinsuke Nakamura deserves a proper rematch. But apparently he's over in Japan right now. And the MFTs have been in enough trouble, and he doesn't want to offer Sami Zayn to them on a silver platter. But then Sami's like, doesn't work for me. This title in the US Open Challenge means something to him, and to the fans, and to the locker room, hungry for opportunities. But he's going to go out there and he's going to defend that title. And then, of course, Miz comes back there and asks Aldis if he needs him anything, but he says he's good for real. But then Sami Zayn does go out there to issue the Open Challenge. And out came the Miz. And then he hypes up and says how Sami's treating the U.S. title like a charity case and whatnot. It was basically just set for Carmelo Hayes to blindside the Miz from behind and attack him. Basically, just like the Miz did to Hayes a few weeks ago when Carmelo Hayes tried to answer the Open Challenge. Again, the problem I still have with this is it's like, again, like they really didn't dig deeper into the partnership with Carmelo Hayes and Miz. It was basically just like, again, they broke it up too soon. They broke it up too soon, and again, I'm worried that this is going to lead to just both of them staying heel and just going their separate ways, and it's not going to lead to anything for either one of them. Unless this rumor of this new vision with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and I can't remember for the life of me who the fifth member was going to be. But still, Obafemi being the fifth member. Whoa, that'd be a deadly group. But Carmelo Hayes deserves his own spotlight. And I still feel like, again, this story with him and The Miz could have led to him going face or something, but I don't know. But anyways, since, of course, just like whenever Miz took out Melo a few weeks ago, somebody else entered the Open Challenge. It was Aleister Black. This week, though, when Miz got taken out, a returning Ilja Dragunov answered the Open Challenge, which I was happy to see Ilja. We haven't seen Ilja since last fall when he suffered a right knee injury. I think it was an ACL injury. Wasn't that a house show against Gunther as well? That's still, at some point, a WrestleMania match. Yes. Again, if you haven't watched them yet, go back and watch their two matches in NXT. Well, one on NXT UK, and the other one at NXT TakeOver 36. And if you want to watch it also, I remember there was a match they had before their first match for the UK title on NXT UK. They had a tag match. I can't remember who Dragunov tag teamed with, but that's where he pinned Gunther in the tag match. Watch that as well. But this match with Ilja Dragunov and Sami Zayn was amazing. Again, Dragunov, just the emotions and just like how hard he comes at you. Again, he's something else. I remember last year before Ricochet left, him and Ricochet had another great series of matches as well too, and they bring out the best in each other. And Sami Zayn, again, not only has brought out the best in this US Open Challenge, but this, I gotta say, this one or the Aleister Black match today was my favorite in Sami Zayn's US title run. But fantastic stuff. The MFTs got involved a little bit, but Ilja still did beat Dragunov decently clean. Also, Dragunov did kick out of Sami Zayn's, because Sami did him with a haluva kick in the middle of the ring and did the Blue Thunder Bomb, and Dragunov kicked out of that. And then when Sami was setting him up for like the usual haluva kick, he does like the whole, suplex into the corner. He was set up for the running haluva kick, but instead Dragunov countered with a torpedo Moscow, and then I think it's the headbutt, and then it's the gigantic elbow. He calls it the H-bomb, which looks super deadly, by the way. And yes, Ilja Dragunov wins the U.S. title on his first night back. Sami Zayn apparently requested to drop the U.S. title to him. And that ends Sami Zayn's reign as U.S. champion at just under 50 days. Which, again, I wasn't happy with it at first, because first off, it basically puts Solo back in the same spot. Although, again, I would rather have the MFTs just feud with the Wyatt 6 and not going back to Solo versus Sami again, especially since there's no title involved now. Please don't do that. Honestly, the idea, since Nick Aldis says he's owed a title match, the idea of Ilja Dragunov and Shinsuke Nakamura sounds like a very sick match to me, even though, again, I've kind of given up on Nakamura as well. But, yeah, I am not upset about this at all whatsoever. Can I make one request over Dragunov? Can we please bring back his old theme song? I can't stand the... It sounds like something you see on like Sesame Street or some other kid's cartoon, which I'm not going to diss on those. I still get to I get to watch some of those because of me having a kid now, and there's nothing wrong with kids' cartoons. But for Ilja Dragunov, it doesn't fit. I love this old theme song. I mean, now that they're bringing some people's old theme songs back, hello, that makes him sound like much more bigger than this. I hate it. I hate it. Death Rebel, you suck. But I'm happy to see Dragunov win the championship. He's going to be a Triple H favorite. Yes, Ilja Dragunov is going to be a Triple H favorite. And again, I do hope, if they tease the idea of him and Shinsuke Nakamura, I'm not as big on Nakamura anymore, but I'm willing to give that a shot. That could be a pretty darn good match. But afterwards, the MFTs do lay out Sami and Ilja after Sami and Ilja try to show each other a sign of respect, and and then the Wyatt 6 appeared, and there's also like a Tron on the top of the stage with Bo Dallas talking. Like I said, could be an interesting match. I'm still feeling this being 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. I don't know, maybe they're going to get like a fifth guy for the Wyatt 6 in there or whatnot. I don't know. Though I have no idea where that's going with that, or War Games. Although I feel like some of the other main eventers are going to be in War Games, but of course again that's up in the air because again they had Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker turn on Seth Rollins. So again, I don't know what's happening with War Games, but I think we're either going to get War Games matches with the Wyatt 6 and MFTs, or that's going to be a 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. With who else? I have no idea. But yes, great stuff for sure. And congratulations again to Ilja Dragunov for winning the United States Championship. Also, Rey Fenix does get involved as well with that too. So again, I don't know where that's going. But after all of that, we had a recap of what happened with the women's crown jewel match, emphasizing that was Tiffany Stratton's first loss of 2025. Tiffany Stratton is 17-1 in 2025, which is again impressive. Although again, the title reign's been kind of lacking because she really has nobody else to challenge her. But she had this segment where she's being interviewed, and she basically says that, you know, a setback doesn't define her. She's still the champ, and she's still focused on what's next. Kiana James rolls up and basically hypes up Julia, the Women's United States Champion, who's been booked like crap since winning that Women's U.S. title. And yeah, apparently that's going to be the next program. I don't like that one bit because, again, I think Julia's amazing, but she's not doing it for me right now as Women's U.S. Champion. And I also don't see Kiana James as a threat at all. Like, this stuff with Julia in the Women's U.S. title is unfortunately doing nothing for me. So yeah, this I don't care about, unfortunately. But we're going to be getting Kiana James versus Tiffany Stratton next week on SmackDown. Whatever. We also then have a match between the Motor City Machine Guns. I totally forgot about them. Taking on Los Garza, Angel Garza, and Humberto Carrillo. Basically, the story of this was, MCMG's been in WWE for a year now. And 1 year ago, they made their debut match against Los Garza. So that's a setup for that match. And MCMG do win. No sign of Santos Escobar, who apparently did re-sign after not signing a deal. So I don't know what's going on with him. But we had that. Then we also had an altercation backstage between Fraxium and DIY, teasing a match between them. Okay, I mean, I like these guys, but can you give me a little bit more here? Like again, these are great tag teams, but it's just like, they're not on the level they once were, but whatever. Still, you know, we'll see where it goes. Again, I'm glad at least they have the depth, but some of these tag teams are just still dry. Like, you know they're great. We know MCMG is great. We know DIY is great. We know Fraxium is great. We know that even Los Garzas. I like Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. I know they're great. But right now it's like, give me more to them. Like, they all feel like low-card acts right now. In the ring, you know, you can forget that, but establish them more. Give them character. Give them something to give them some more interesting momentum. But whatever. Anyways, we're getting ready then for our main event. But then when Jacob Fatu's music plays, he's not coming out. We cut backstage and we see Jacob Fatu is bleeding from the mouth under some sort of a scaffold that apparently fell on top of him. And then we're basically told that Jacob Fatu is not able to compete in this match. Because rumors were that Jacob Fatu was dealing with a non-wrestling related injury, which apparently I found out he recently had a dental procedure that he needs some time off for to recover from. Okay, not that bad, I guess, but sucks. But, you know, he'll be back as a main eventer later on. But then, of course, you know, everybody's assuming right away that Drew McIntyre attacked him. Well, Drew came out, and he basically says, first he calls Jacob Fatu Bleeding Gums Fatu, being all gas, no brakes at all, huh? Then he asks to have his arm raised and confirmed as new #1 contender. Nick Aldis though comes out and tells Drew, don't say another word, because I don't know what happened, but if he finds out it was Drew, then he's going to be in big trouble. And Drew says he had nothing to do with this. And, but then he says, I had nothing to do with this, but I want you to do the right thing and give me the match with Cody for his title. Cody came out, and this got a little bit confusing. So Cody came out all upset and says, enough is enough, and no one wants to see you talk, and they want a #1 contender. So, if you want the match, Drew, let's do it now. And basically, it was supposed to be a match, but it was pretty much just a brawl with Drew wrestling in his attire and Cody wrestling in a suit. But then what was interesting and strange is that Drew McIntyre won the match by disqualification, At first, we thought maybe they were going to put the belt on Drew. Because we all heard the rumors that originally Drew was supposed to win at WrestlePalooza. But that didn't happen because of because they thought that Cody versus Seth was more appealing for the Crown Jewel title match than Seth versus Drew, which they're not lying, yes, but again, you don't have to do the bragging rights Crown Jewel match. Even though it was good, don't get me wrong, it was a great match, but still, it kind of left some things a little dry and upheld for a little bit. But anyways, yeah, Drew McIntyre won the match by DQ because Cody Rhodes hit him with his championship. So, the big story coming out of this episode, after, of course, a further brawl, and then Cody and Drew got separated. But now the big story is we may not find out for a few months, who was it who attacked Jacob Fatu? Because we all know Triple H's method with these. It's not the obvious choice. It was definitely not Drew McIntyre. I think it was one or two people. The very obvious one that I think I'm pretty sure it's gonna be is Randy Orton. We all know Randy Orton has had so many moments this year where he got screwed out of something. Whether it was getting his revenge on Kevin Owens and Kevin Owens got injured, or he got screwed out of his title match against John Cena. He hit John Cena with like 15 freaking RKOs and a few other things as well. Again, I'm still surprised based off of how that match with Cena went at Backlash. I'm still surprised we didn't do Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis. And that's number one too. He lost a match with Jelly Roll against Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. So, a Randy Orton heel turn has been on the horizon for a long, long time. However, let me run this by you, because I thought about this more, because to me it would make more sense as to why the DQ happened. What if it was Cody who attacked Jacob Fatu? I know that's really, really pushing it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Randy. But I'm just saying, they had Cody really put over Jacob Fatu. And Cody, for some reason, used the championship on Drew. Although, that could have also been a WWE playing the safe way out. Which, again, still would make no sense. Why would the babyface be using the title to get out of a title match that Drew was clearly dominating Cody in? Just saying. What if it was Cody who attacked Jacob Fatu? And he would be doing it in his hometown as well too. Cody knows his time to go heel is coming. Again, that's one thing I will give Cody respect for. He does know eventually he's going to have to go heel. What this is setting it up. I'm just saying. We all know Randy Orton is at his best as a heel. We all know they got to do Cody versus Randy. But, again, I think we're all expecting Randy to go heel. What if, just what if it was Cody? It could be Cody. I mean, heck, Matt Riddle apparently even said in an interview that the long-term plan was, if Randy Orton didn't get hurt, was for Matt Riddle to turn on Randy Orton. Which I was kind of hoping for that instead of Orton turning on Riddle, because it would have been something different. Why not try this here? Have Cody be the one to go heel against Randy. I'm just saying. Again, I am still pretty sure it's going to be Randy. But just saying, based off of that ending and how Cody kind of seemed he was a little too, welcoming or, a little too behind Jacob, what if it was Cody? It could be Cody. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see until Jacob comes back. So, that's my thoughts on SmackDown, guys. Like I said, it was a show that I thought was great, but I got to see where some of these stories go before like I said, I wanted to give this show an A-. But again, some of the stuff I'm gotta see where this goes, especially the MFT stuff. Again, I do not have the faith right now in the MFTs, but if you do change my mind, then I could probably come back later and say this show was amazing and give this show like an A- or an A. But for now, it's a B+ from me. So SmackDown gets a B+. And let's check our live chat before we go off the air here. Tyler's last comment. Okay, this is the first comment I need to read from Tyler saying Andrade is the Jeff Jarrett with going to one to the other like Jarrett with W and WCW in the 90s with the Monday Night Wars. Interesting. There was no Hell in a Cell match at all this year. That's right, there wasn't. If Seth is indeed hurt, I still wonder if the plan was to do Seth versus Punk at either Saturday Night's Main Event or Survivor Series. But that's got to be Hell in a Cell, for sure. So maybe that was the plan, but who knows. Solo's Mafia strikes again. Orton's 2025 was crap. And maybe Cody and Drew will form teams for War Games at Survivor Series. Maybe. That may be the way they go with it. Who knows? But a lot of uncertainty up in the air. But some interesting things for sure to keep an eye out for. But there we go, guys. That is my kind of like a double review. Again, I talked about Andrade's latest with his contract situation. And again, if I have time, I may like take that clip separately, make that a separate video, just so if you guys want to watch that and not just the whole video, maybe I'll do that. I don't know yet, but we'll see if I have time. Maybe I'll do that. But my thoughts on Andrade's situation and my thoughts on SmackDown. What are your guys' thoughts on both topics? You guys' thoughts getting down in the comments section below. Slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And as always, guys, please do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself. And that is not just in the pain, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!